Do you remember the stories of the birth of Jesus and his teachings and the stories about his life? So we of course know that these stories were written down later in the Bible, right? And the Bible is divided into two parts, the Old Testament and the New Testament. Now of course the Bibles were written by the apostles, right? Now if we look into the board here, then we see that the New Testament was also divided into 4 parts, right? First were of course the Gospels written by the 4 apostles who were also the disciples of Jesus: Matthew, Mark, Luke and John. Then we have the letters that Paul wrote to the churches, or Paul wrote to the individuals, or general letters usually written by the epistles, right? By the epistles. Now who were the epistles? The epistles were the Christian leaders. And what did they write in these letters? They wrote about the instructions that were to be given to the churches to how they would function. Now the third would be the narrative, which would become the act of the apostles, right? The act of these apostles, okay? And the last book was called the Book of Revelation. What did the Book of Revelation mention? The Book of Revelation spoke about the prophecies of the coming world. The prophecies of the coming world and how the world would end. Now, if we come to the first part of the New Testament, we know that that becomes the gospel, right? So, what does the gospel mean? The gospel means, first of all, it's good news and it contains the story of Jesus. If you remember, we discussed about the 4 apostles who wrote the Gospels, right? Matthew, Mark, Luke and John. Okay, so of course these 4 Gospels were based on a basic idea. But if we look here, if we take a look at what the Gospels contain, then we will see that there are certain changes from one Gospel to the other, right? If we come to Matthew's Gospel, we see in case of Jesus, who remains the King of Jews, here in Mark's Gospel becomes a suffering servant of the people, okay? Then if we come to Luke's Gospel, he becomes the Savior. So you see the change from a human, a person, to the change of God, right? From a Savior, in John's Gospel, he becomes the God. Matthew's Gospel, for example, shows the teachings of Jesus, right? It emphasizes on the teachings of Jesus. But later it shifts in Mark's Gospel to Jesus' authority and declaration of his work. So in Mark's Gospel, Jesus declares that these are his work. This was the work that was assigned to him by God. Whereas in Luke's Gospel, it becomes an educational gospel on the life and now specifically the life and ministry. Luke's Gospel becomes the first one that talks specifically about the life and ministry of Jesus. And here, when it becomes, Jesus becomes God, he becomes the one who inspires belief in people. Because by then, the idea of Christianity and the idea that Jesus was the God that they were to worship was already established. Now here Jesus, of course, because he is still the King of the Jews or the Savior, that idea of Messiah is still there. He is the one who fulfills the prophecies that was mentioned in the Jewish faith. If you remember the Old Testament, in Mark's Gospel, he becomes the source for Matthew and Luke, right? Whereas Luke's Gospel was written by a non-Jew And John's gospel is, of course, long after the other gospel where Jesus already becomes a God. Okay. Now Matthew's, Mark's and Luke's gospel are known as synoptic gospels. What is a synoptic gospel? Synoptic gospel basically means that they all cover the same material. More or less, it's all the same material. Life and ministry, declaration of his work, right? Teachings of Jesus, includes the prophecies, okay? So here, still he remains an idea. Still he remains an idea of a person, and then he becomes the God. Right. So, Saint Paul therefore is the first apostle that we talk about. One of the apostles. The first apostle that we talk about, he is called Paul the preacher, and he established several Christian communities. Several Christian communities in Europe and Asia. So he became the one firstly who kept preaching about Christianity as a religion, as an idea. Paul was also the person who wrote these letters that we saw, right? One of the epistles as well, who wrote the letters, and also has written several chapters of New Testament. Okay? These letters therefore talk about the teachings of Jesus. If you take a look here, we can see that this is Saint Paul sitting and writing the letters, right? These were the letters that discuss the work of the church, okay? Saint Peter was, of course, one of the apostles of Jesus after Saint Paul, and Saint Peter came to be known as the first pope, right? The first pope, who was a priest of the highest authority for the Christians. Now, Saint Peter was also the closest to Jesus, okay? So he was the one who spread the message in Italy and attracted, of course, many followers. And interesting is the fact that just like Jesus, just like the one who he followed, Saint Peter was also believed to be crucified, okay? If we have a look at this picture here, can you see a key and a book, right? So this is the key to the heaven that Jesus hands, over to Saint Peter himself. And the book, if you look, take a look at the picture, closely, then we see that the book is the gospel that was being written, starting from that point of time, because it kept including the teachings of Jesus. Okay, so we can see the keys of heaven being handed over here. Now, the main apostles who spread across, the globe, the map, to spread this particular religion that was to become a world religion later. And it was not just the four apostles. It was not just Matthew, Mark, Luke and John. Okay, there were also other apostles. For example, there was Bartholomew, or there was Saint Thomas, there was Saint Andrew, and then we have Saint James, Saint John and Saint Peter and Saint Matthew we have already discussed about. Now let's take a look at the places that they went to. Okay, now if we directly come to the map of India here, Saint Thomas was the one who entered India to spread Christianity, and he entered from Kerala. Okay, now we have to remember that all of these apostles were, of course, situated firstly in Jerusalem. They were in Israel, and from there they spread over the map. Okay, so if we look at then Israel, Jerusalem, Saint John is situated here. Saint John, the one who baptized Jesus as well. Okay, so he is situated here, and he is the one who is spreading Christianity in Jerusalem. Right? Armenia becomes the place that Saint Bartholomew is, propagating Christianity, is spreading Christianity. Matthew is the one who is spreading in Ethiopia, whereas Saint Andrew goes over to Greece here, right? Goes over to Greece and spreads Christianity. Saint Peter was the one who went to Italy. That's right. He was the one who went to Italy, and Saint James was the one who went to Spain. Okay? Now the other apostles who were also a part of Jesus' disciples, who carried on, the spread of Christianity, because of course, as you saw the map, it was a big enough area, and it was not possible for, hardly a few to keep spreading them. We remember that Jesus had 12 disciples. So James, who was lesser or younger, the younger one of James. So there were, at that point of time, a lot of people had these common names. So they were named lesser or younger or greater in that way, right? So James, we have Judas, then we have Jude or Thaddeus, Philip, and Simon the Zealot. If you take a look at this picture here, we see Jesus and Saint Paul here. Now Saint Paul was of course the first apostle who spread Christianity and started writing these letters as the epistle, and here we see Jesus baptizing Paul, right? So Paul was the one, because he was very close to Jesus as a disciple, he was the one who gave the name Christ. Christ in Greek means the anointed one. And what is the meaning of anointment? Anointment is, the religious act when we call a person to be blessed or important. Why the blessed one? Because he was known as the Son of God. Right? So Saint Paul the preacher, gave him the name Christ, the blessed Son of God. So we come to a point of time when Jesus becomes a figure who establishes a new religion, and this new religion is not a sect of existing Judaism anymore. It becomes a new religion that will become in later years a world religion. So Jesus Christ is established as a figure who came on earth because the calling of the Messiah to take away all the suffering and pain, right, of humanity. He was the one who would nullify the sin. And from him, a new religion, Christianity, emerged. And this was the way how the apostles of Jesus, after his death, spread the religion Christianity across the globe. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon. You can also register for free at DeltaStep.com or download the DeltaStep app to get access to all our 5,000 plus amazing videos as per your school syllabus. Master each topic with our adaptive practice technology. Get million plus questions with step-by-step solutions and unlimited mock tests. Get all your doubts resolved instantly, learn via games, and win amazing prizes like PlayStations and iPads. So at DeltaStep, learning is not just fun and easy, it is rewarding too. So register for free now.